are super excited about this episode because there's been so much rhetoric going on about the stimulus package. Like we hear that, and there's been like articles, and there's a bunch of people who are proclaiming to be experts on social media, giving out advice, some of which is okay, some of which is pretty terrible. And
you don't really know what to believe.
Right.
But we have somebody today that we can guarantee you that what she says, we can take it for what it is.
It's one of our heroes in the game. This is one of the people we look up to the most.
Yes.
And we knew that her voice and her wisdom could be trusted. It is verifiable.
That's right.
It is well documented off the course of history. And so we're super excited to welcome Lynnette Khalfani-Cox to the His and Her, back to the His and Her Money
back
show.
to the show.
Welcome, Lynnette. We're so glad to have you back.
Hey, you guys, thank you for having me back. It's been too long.
Yes,
Way
it
too
has.
long.
Oh my gosh, you've moved across.
Conversation.
Exactly. You moved to a new location, and do we have any more babies since then? Since we met her? I don't know. I don't remember.
No, I think Grace was here.
She was here? Okay.
I think Grace was
you never
here.
know.
I think Grace is here. So we are excited to have you here because there's been
at first I thought you said, did you have any babies?
Oh, you?
Girl, please.
Just say, I'm done.
I got three, y'all
Right.
got three, but two
Right.
of them is up there, you know?
So, I mean, there's been so much going on about the stimulus package. There's been a lot of discussion, and there's been a lot said, good and bad. You went a step further than most of us in this industry, and you took the liberty upon yourself to read all 880 pages
my gosh.
of the stimulus package so that you could know what it says.
How long did it take you to read it, by the
I
way?
guess we could start there. Like, how long did it take you to read that thing?
2 full days.
Wow.
And honestly, it wasn't just then. I did it like over a weekend, and it's been rereading it some more, saying, did they really put this in here?
Wow.
Trying to interpret it and digest it. And yes, though, you're right, Talit, that I was really trying to make sure that I could get kind of deep in the weeds there, just to really be able to explain it to folks and to make sure that we weren't missing so much, because it's such a massive bill that, it dwarfs the tax reform that got passed a couple years ago. And I forgot if that was like, I think 300 pages or something. That was, that was ridiculous too. This is especially redonkulous, but I was like, no, we're all doing a reset here, in so many ways. And so I wanted to make sure that we didn't just focus on, say, a $1,200 stimulus check, which is what so many people seem to be fixated on.
Right.
And that is part of the good news, is that there's so many more elements that I think a lot of folks need to know about.
Wow. Well, I am super excited to dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, one of the things that stood out to me as you was taking in all the information you was giving out was that this is not actually the first package that came out. Like, there was a package that came out before this. So can you kind of walk us through how this has gone from the federal government? Because we all focus on the part that says $1,200, but there's been a whole lot more going on besides that. So can you rewind the clock back just a little bit to tell us how the government started rolling stuff out and what it means?
Sure. So that's a great question, because this is not actually the second. This one was the third stimulus package. So in early March, there was the first stimulus package, and that one really addressed kind of the health workers and their needs, and kind of shoring up support for testing and things of that nature to confront the coronavirus, pandemic. Mm-hmm. Then the second package was really geared towards people who have needs because they've gotten sick. So that was the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And that was passed in mid-March. So the first one was in early March. The second one was in mid-March. And then that one was really to say, can you get sick leave benefits, federally mandated sick leave? It covered things like family leave benefits as well, if you're at home taking care of your kids, et cetera. And we're going to get a little bit more into that. Mm-hmm. So that was the second one. And then we had, and those were $8.3 billion for the first package. Then the second one was $3.5 billion. And then we had the third one, the $2.2 trillion stimulus act, quote unquote, called the CARES Act. And so most people have honed in on that one because it is the largest, the most robust of the three. But, kind of what I'm going to share with you today focuses on the CARES Act, but also incorporates elements of those other two stimulus measures as well.
Okay. So let's talk about the CARES Act, what most people know about currently right now. Can you talk a little bit about that? What is it and how does it work?
Sure. So a lot of people have called it, a stimulus package, and I just use that term as well, but really that's kind of a misnomer. So anytime you're going to have a stimulus package in true sense, it's kind of like go out and spend, buy new cars, buy a flat screen TV, go shopping, go eat at restaurants. Well, obviously we're on lockdown, over 80% of the country is, and we have all these stay-at-home orders. So it's not like this money that's coming to people, by and large, is like propping up the economy or stimulating so-called the economy. Instead, it's really a stabilization measure. It's an economic relief measure. And so it's kind of just intended to keep individuals, business owners, folks afloat and kind of not let things just completely spiral downward. So I've highlighted at least 7 or 8 different features in the CARES Act in particular that provide instant financial benefits, relief, cash assistance, support, etc. And let's put a little asterisk next to that word instant, because we know folks have had problems accessing some of these benefits just because of the sheer volume in some cases, and because frankly, some of the stuff has been rolled out in a way that was kind of real janky, So, but there's much more to it, like I said, than just that $1,200 stimulus check that some folks are getting.
I think we wanted to have the conversation kind of in pieces. We wanted to look at this. What does all this mean for the employee, the person that has the 9-to-5 job, the career? What does this mean then for the business owner, the person that may have a 9-to-5 and a business, or the person that's a full-time entrepreneur? And then what does it mean for the investor, those that are prone or want to invest in the stock market, invest in real estate? So let's start with the employee. This stimulus, how does this affect the employee? What are some of the things that are there that could be beneficial that maybe people don't have a full understanding of that they are entitled to as an employee?
So I want to highlight 3 benefits for the purposes of this segment. And y'all let me know how much time you have.
Listen, we are at your disposal. Right. We're grateful to have you here.
That's so true.
Okay, so let me highlight 3. First, top level unemployment benefits, then sick leave pay, and then family leave benefits. Those are 3 that an employee could benefit from. And this is not just in the CARES Act, but also, as I mentioned, in the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Okay, that second one. So on the unemployment front, they've expanded unemployment benefits in 3 really critical ways. One, they made a lot more people eligible for unemployment. So not just the average W-2 worker who's an employee, right? Also self-employed individuals, 1099 workers, part-timers, gig economy folks, freelancers, all kind of folks they made eligible. Now, you have to recognize, of course, that unemployment compensation is a dual program. It's coordinated by both your state and federal. So in a nutshell, in addition to making so many more people eligible for unemployment, they expanded the length of unemployment. Before, it was about 26 weeks on average, and it varies again by state in terms of the maximum number of weeks you could get. But on average, it was about 26 weeks. Now they added 13 weeks worth of unemployment coverage. So now it can go as long as 39 weeks, which some people are really going to need, frankly. And then the third part in terms of how they expanded unemployment benefits is that they added a federal benefit on top of your state benefit. So nationwide, again, it varies based on which state you live in. And some states, Mississippi, it's down and it's like less than $300 is your maximum. Up in Massachusetts, it's almost $800 roughly is the maximum. So it's all over the place. But wherever you are, whatever your state benefit is, and on average, it's about $380 if you average up all the states. On top of that state benefit, you can now also get the federal pandemic unemployment insurance. That's the fancy little word they put it, a little federal benefit on top of your state benefit. And regardless of where you live, that federal benefit is $600 per week. So, you take the average $380 a week, and if you add another 600 on top of that, now you've got almost $1,000 a week for many people, and that's going to be a good source of support. And that's why I'm telling people, I know it's a pain to apply. I know those phone lines have been busy. I know the websites have been crashing. I know it's hard to reach them and do, what you have to do online in order to apply. However, you're going to need this. So be persistent. If you can at all stomach all of the frustration of dealing with your state unemployment website, et cetera, I'm going to encourage you to do that, because that $1,000 a week, roughly, that's going to help float a lot of people. And that's going to be much more sustainable and long lasting, as opposed to just a one-time $1,200, economic impact payment check. That's what the IRS calls the stimulus checks.
So how does one know if they should apply? Are you telling everyone who may think they should apply? Like, who should apply? How do they know if they should?
Absolutely. I think that if you even think that you qualify, to go ahead and get onto your state website, the unemployment office for your state, and to go ahead and see if you're eligible. I wouldn't say first apply. I would say go read their guidelines and rules. And I can summarize in large part the gist of what they're saying in terms of who's eligible. I've already told you how they expanded eligibility. But in general, you're going to be eligible for unemployment benefits if you've been laid off. That's an obvious one. You no longer have a job. But even some people who have been furloughed, those who have reduced work hours, reduced pay, their stuff has been slashed back. If you were self-employed, even a sole proprietor, again, a gig economy worker, and you have fewer dollars coming in because of just the shutdown that has impacted even your side hustle, you can also qualify for unemployment. So the main kind of litmus test, if you will, is, have you been economically impacted by this COVID-19 emergency? And again, each state will have some other, finer points, et cetera. But on that basis, if my income is down, 25, 35, 50%, or I have no income at all coming in, then I would encourage you to reach out and to apply for those benefits.
Now, we have our power players in here. Those are the members of our Power Couples University mentorship program. For more information, you can go to powercouplesuniversity.com. Now, they had a question like, does the federal part come automatically because they've heard that some have only gotten the state amount?
Right. So in the CARES Act, they actually specifically outlined how you're supposed to get that federal benefit. And it has been murky. It has been a little bit questionable, because some state websites have literally said, we're seeking further information on this, or it's unclear at this time, et cetera. They've made statements like that. Like, I helped my friend who lives in New Jersey, which is where I used to live until last summer, but she worked in New York, and she therefore had to apply for benefits in New York. And so their state website said something different than what it said in New Jersey, which says something different than what is in Texas, et cetera. But at the core of it, the CARES Act specifically said that if you're on unemployment and you get that your state benefit, that you're eligible to also receive the federal benefit, the $600. And they said that your state has the option for how they pay it out in one of two ways. It said that the state can give you one check, which has your state benefit and your federal benefit, combined together, or the state can choose to process and distribute to you two separate checks, one with your state benefit and then another one with the federal benefit. It's totally up to the state. They have the right and they're at liberty to choose which method they want to do. Now, people should know also that if you qualify and once you get the money, or once you're deemed eligible to get unemployment, it will be retroactive from when you applied. So I know a lot of people have been so frustrated, like, oh, I'm losing out on all this money, or they're in a queue, so to speak. If they're saying, oh, we need more information, we have to talk to you, we have to get more documents or something else. And you're thinking, okay, week 1, week 2, it's 4 weeks into this, 6 weeks into this, and I haven't gotten anything. Then just kind of have a little bit of confidence in knowing that once you're eligible, they're gonna catch you up on all of that payments that you should have been getting ever since you officially were out of work or had reduced hours.
Yeah. And this also applies to people like sometimes you don't think about, but like a barber, a beautician, a photographer, they can go apply as well. Freelancers.
Can I tell you guys something? Can I give a plug too for on my
Yes.
site? This is because I've been getting this very question so much that I was like, let me just make an article on this. So two things. One is that I created an article that basically is a list that says the maximum unemployment benefit per week in every state. So wherever you're watching or listening from, you can go to askthemoneycoach.com and click on, just type in unemployment insurance or unemployment benefits. That article will pop up and it'll tell you, it gives you not only your state maximum, what the maximum is you can get per week from your state benefit, but it also tells you the website where you go to claim, and I give you the phone number to call because some place you have to call in for certain things, etc. So that's one. But then separately, I created another article, and again, it's on askthemoneycoach.com, that tells people over 150 not even sources of work, but 150 jobs, professions, side hustles that you could be doing, type of work that, yes, you're eligible for unemployment. And I do have a hairdresser and a barber, stylist, artists, a whole bunch of, like I said, dozens and dozens, over 150s. So you can even go look at that article and see, does my type of work or does my line of work, do I qualify? And chances are you're going to be on that list. So that's another, I just thought about it when you said people don't think about it, because one of the states that are letting people come back, I think there's another reason for that, but we won't get into that. But they're all,
because I got my feelings
they're like,
too.
oh yeah, the barber shops, the hair salons, y'all go back first.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I've been calling people, texting people like, don't fall for it.
Stay the heck
Stay home.
Tanning salons and the tennis courts and the golf courses open.
Yeah.
Then I think it'll probably be safe for us to go back.
Then we know it's real.
Yeah, that's right.
So you also mentioned,
put us out there.
no, that's real because
It is.
they made it so obvious.
Yep.
They made it so obvious. We're talking about the state of Georgia.
Quiet part out loud.
You all, we apologize.
Don't worry.
It's like the day that we decide to do this is the day that they're literally up underneath this office. So our apologies.
Drilling away.
Hey, you know what? We're all working from home. Everybody's working remotely, and everybody gets it. We're gonna still bring the information out there. So let me touch on these two other points real quick.
Yes, come on.
I know I want to go on and tell you about for investors and for business owners, etc.
And just flow right into it. If the floor is yours.
Okay, I can just talk away.
Yep,
Okay,
the floor is yours.
So, so for the employees though, just to put a bow around it, your sick pay benefits that you can get and your medical or your family leave benefits that you can get. If you've been diagnosed with coronavirus, obviously that's a form. And if you get the disease that it causes, COVID-19, then you can be eligible for sick pay, federally mandated sick pay benefits as well. And if you're taking care of somebody in your household who has coronavirus or COVID-19, if you've been ordered to quarantine by a doctor, etc., you're going to qualify for those sick pay benefits. Sick pay benefits cover 100% of your salary up to a maximum of $511 per day, and it lasts for a maximum of 10 days. So in this instance, obviously you can do the math real quick. 511 times 10, $5,110 is the maximum there that you can get. Now, they ask you to quarantine for 14 days and all that. So we're not going to talk about the fact that they're a little short there, on that sick pay. But nonetheless, I think that's really something important for people to know. Employees can also get family leave benefits. So again, you folks are doing like I am. You're working from home. You've had to work from home before, but then you've had your work interrupted because you're also having to take care of your 3 kids. And so again, anybody who has a child that is age 14 and under, who the child's school or their daycare has been closed for 5 days or more, and you're having to take care of them because you don't have anybody else to, you can also qualify for family leave benefits. Family leave covers up to 2/3 of your salary for a maximum of $200 per day. And then that one can last 10 weeks in terms of you getting paid. So you stretch that out and go for $10,000. So again, I just think that, people need to know that these benefits are available to them as well. And that's, just kind of a recap on the things that are available for the typical employee.
Now, I got a question to follow up with that. Is that automatic? Or if I'm an employee and I just heard that for the first time, am I contacting my HR or am I waiting for them to let me know?
No, they're not going to offer it. So great question, Tyler. You have to reach out and ask your employer, and yes, they will likely direct you to your HR or benefits office. And basically what's going to happen is you're going to go through the company's insurance company. They'll have you to fill out a form typically, and obviously it'll be done online these days, as everything is. You don't have to go anywhere. I can't speak for every single company in the obviously in the country. Some may say, oh, here, call. But in general, you'll fill out a form online, and then that's how your the process for starting to request your family leave benefits will be initiating. So on the front, in terms of investors, several things in the CARES Act that are of importance. So let's say you are investing for retirement and you have a 401k plan. Well, they changed 401k and rules for qualified retirement plans in some significant ways. So this applies to 401k, 403b plans if you work for a nonprofit, to IRAs, individual retirement accounts, etc. So in a nutshell, they've loosened the rules and they've made it easier to access your retirement funds if you need to do so. Now, mind you, I'm not recommending right off the bat that people do this. I think you should give it very, very, very serious thought and, kind of like almost as a last resort if you have to. But certainly we know folks got to, put food on the table. They got to pay rent or mortgage. They got to keep their families afloat and, stay alive. So there's no judgment here at all. If you need to tap that money because you just really and truly need to, then by all means do so. And here's the gist of it in terms of the guidelines. You used to be able to take out a loan of up to $50,000. Now they've doubled that. And so you could take out $100,000 out of your 401k or your 403b, out of your IRA, etc. The loan is even handled differently. So you don't have to start paying yourself back for 1 year. Now that's a difference because usually you'd have to start immediately paying yourself back. So you don't have to begin your repayments for 1 year. And then after that, you have 5 years to repay the loan. Now I should mention too that for self-employed people, this isn't just for the average employee who has a 401k or whatever. People like myself, you folks obviously as well too, we're self-employed. We actually have what's called a solo 401k. And so out of our account, it's self-directed, and so we could tap into our money if we wanted to and to take a loan or a distribution out of that. So I'll talk about the distribution rules in a second, but I just wanted to clarify that this is not only for employees, it's for even small business owners, soloists, kind of mom and pop, husband and wife couples, etc., who have 401k plans as well. So that loan is not going to be taxable to you, and there's no kind of penalty or anything like that associated with taking it. Now, for distributions, again, they've also made it more flexible. They doubled that one as well. So if you have to take a distribution, in the past, they already had some things for which you could take a hardship distribution, things of that effect. If you were like buying a house, first time home buying, and a couple of other reasons, they would let you take a distribution penalty free. But now, again, you normally have to be age 59 and a half to take a distribution without suffering a tax penalty. But they've removed that little nasty 10% penalty from Uncle Sam. So if you need to just straight withdraw money, not borrow it, but just straight withdraw it out of your 401k, 403b, your IRA, etc., you can do so without that 10% penalty. And you can even potentially do so without incurring taxes. And here's how. Usually, you would have to pay ordinary income taxes on whatever distribution you take out of a 401k plan. But now they're letting you recontribute the money over a term of up to 3 years. So even if you already have a 401k loan, you can still pay yourself back. You can take another one. Even if you already have taken a distribution, even with an IRA, you can have multiple distributions. They were extremely flexible in the language. If you have multiple IRAs, you could take money out of one, put it in the other one. You just have to not, mess around with that cap in terms of the $100,000 threshold. So you could pay yourself back in 3 years. And if you opt and elect to pay yourself back from a distribution, then there's no taxable consequence to you as well.
So that's tricky. I've never been a fan of the withdrawing from the 401k. I've always said it's a bad idea, but for some of the reasons that you just mentioned were reasons that it was bad. One, the 10% penalty, but that's gone. Two, the taxes you have to pay, but in certain situations now that's gone. But if you withdraw now, you could also be potentially taking money out at the bottom of the market, which means you'll never have a chance to recoup that from an investment standpoint. So, but I'm willing to be wrong. Who would that be a good idea for, in your opinion?
So Tyler, you raised some really good on point questions and issues, and you're right. I mean, it's generally a bad idea to withdraw money, kind of at the bottom, or at least when we're in kind of correction territory. So who would this be a good option for? One is somebody who's kind of financially in need, and they just do not have any other resources, and they're like, my lights are going to be disconnected. Although there's, help you could get, but just in general, they're trying to keep the roof over their head. They're trying to put food on the table, etc. Right? So that's one person who, if they have no other resources, no other source of incoming funds, etc., but they do have this savings, this little nest egg over there, that I think would be an okay consideration. It's not ideal, but given the circumstances, it's something that just like, you kind of got to do what you got to do. So that's one. Also, anybody who's like me, who actually has a large cash position. So, of course, your overall 401k, you want to look at your risk tolerance, your goals and objectives and everything else, and you want to have proper asset allocation. But over in recent years, a lot of, high net worth people, a lot of, high income even people have been shifting a lot into cash and or other assets. My family, we happen to be in the high cash and high real estate focus, and not as heavily invested in the stock market. So, for us, we have, 250 plus thousand in, one account just sitting in there and basically in cash. So, even though it's through our retirement plan, then we know, okay, if we wanted to tap this, we wouldn't have that opportunity cost associated with accessing that money. So, for example, opportunity cost being that, you don't know when the market is going to come back, right? And if you have a long-term horizon and over, 100 years worth of data that we have ever since the 1920s, we know that every 10-year stretch, stocks have returned about a 10% annual return on average. Again, not saying that this year is going to be 10% or last year, or anything like that, but just if you look at historical indices and numbers, that every year, or not every year, but that the average annual return is about 10%. So when I look at it and I say, okay, a decade-long time frame, I'm comfortable investing in the stock market. Everybody's going to say their own goals and their own risk tolerance, et cetera. They might say, I need the money sooner, I don't need the money right now, whatever. But long story short, I do think that if you have a large cash position in terms of where your retirement money has been held, that's less of an issue for you. You're not pulling money out at the bottom, and you don't have that opportunity cost kind of factor to worry about as well.
Okay. Great insight. So now I want to stick here with the investor because you just mentioned that you on the personal side, you and your husband Earl. Shout out to Earl.
Yes.
You all are in a position where, from an investment standpoint, you guys are focused on real estate investing. I know you all have multiple properties. So for some people, like,
oh my gosh, I got to tell you one that's in there.
Okay.
Tell us.
I was like, ooh, y'all know y'all wrong for doing this. But I was like, I'm going to take advantage of it, but y'all know y'all wrong. So, okay, I don't even know if I'm really going to do this justice to really explain it. But one of the things in the CARES Act is that they changed net operating losses and the rules around NOLs, net operating losses. So if you own real estate, you frequently rack up losses, paper losses. Again, they're paper losses because depreciation is accounted for. Okay, you might be making a profit actually on your rental properties, but on paper you're generating losses, and sometimes big losses. So in a nutshell, what they did is they changed that. All of this is changing the tax code, by the way. Okay, they changed the tax code so that you can take net operating losses that you may have suffered in 2020, but not just in 2020. They let you go back to 2019 and 2018. And then they say, did you have any losses in any of those 3 years? Now, obviously, nobody's done their 2020 taxes yet. So everybody's sitting there looking at their 2019 taxes and their 2018 taxes. And then they're saying, okay, I tell you what, if you had any losses, go back 5 years. We're going to let you do a look back period of 5 years and then a look forward period in terms of having losses. So the way it works is that, let's say you go back to the earliest date, 2018. You go back 5 years. You go back and you look at your 2013 taxes. Now, I've made profits in all my years. I didn't have losses, right? But what they're basically saying is that on the real estate side or on the business side, you could do either one. A lot of people do it on their real estate side. I happen to have both. I have a business, which is, thank the Lord, where's the wood for me to knock, and my real estate. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, actually, I do have some losses. I looked through my, my filings, my tax filings, etc. Long story short, they're saying in a nutshell, go back to 2013, look 5 years worth, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17. Now, what did you pay? So I'm constantly paying the government. I'm always talking about my taxes. So, okay, did you have $20,000 in losses? Oh, okay, then go back. Did you have $20,000 that you paid in taxes? I'm like, heck yeah, I had $20,000 in over 1 year, So they're basically like, here, we'll give you a check back. You get a credit or a refund for that. So the losses, in effect, offset any taxes paid. So I'm like, wow. So people who have like serious mega real estate empires, or even who had a big business loss, they're going to be claiming, just think if you had a $50,000 loss. Basically, the government's about to write you a $50,000 check. So it's kind of crazy. Now, what if you didn't have those losses in the past? You had no losses. You can carry it forward. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's 20 years. I'm almost, having a little senior moment here, but I think it's 20 years. So in other words, you can offset your losses going forward. You can use your losses to offset gains going forward for 20 years worth. Why do you think it is that Trump, he's been fighting like the Dickens to keep them tax returns out of the public eye, right? But you might recall when I think it was the New York Times, it wasn't the Post, pretty sure it was the Times, they got one of them newspapers got, on the business side, they got some of his, a sliver of his records. They didn't get the personal, but they got some of his business returns. And they found basically he had like $1 billion loss. And they were like, wow, he didn't have to pay taxes for like 20 years because he was able to carry forward that loss for all this time. So all the gains he had, he was like, well, I'm still using that loss from, 1979 or 80 or whatever year it was, 85. So in effect, they've done the same thing for business owners and investors right now.
Based on what you just shared, especially in that last
of
information, was that this package, our tax law, our economic system is set up to benefit business owners and investors. Accurate?
1000%. 1,000%. I mean, if you look at so many elements of the tax code, and frankly, different variations of capitalism and at work in this, country that we live in, I'm telling you, if you do not own something, if you do not own property, your own and or real estate, if you do not own a business, if you do not own assets, paper assets, hard assets, etc., you are among the disenfranchised financially and economically because they built so much in terms of advantage, so many privileges, so much resources, and basically they're underwriting the life, the initiatives of anybody who's willing to create jobs. Yep. As a business owner, you're creating jobs, your own jobs. And if you pay employees and or even contractors, 1099 workers, if you have, freelancers that you pay, they're going to reward you for that. But then also, if you're going to invest in property or in things like real estate or the stock market, et cetera, the advantage is huge. There's just no contest. So in a nutshell, before I got disconnected here somehow, I was just saying that this whole issue around net operating losses is really very, very huge. If I'm not mistaken, the Wall Street Journal said that it's going to produce about $175 billion worth of benefits for the wealthy.
So the wealthy.
You look at that.
Just the wealthy.
The whole, the CARES Act had $350 billion roughly apportioned for small business owners all across the country. Supposedly, we saw what happened with that. We'll get to the small business owners in a second. But literally for individuals who are, wealthier, who are property owners, et cetera, or who own businesses, et cetera, this one little line that they threw in there, and it wasn't one line, it's fleshed out, but this one aspect, it was like, it was one of those little hidden gems in there that's not apparent or that's not obvious.
Yeah, because when we just got disconnected, we were telling our power players that you see the importance of knowledge yourself, like reading and researching this stuff yourself. Because a lot of time, I think we put a lot of faith in our accountant, thinking that our accountant would just tell us, right? Our accountant would just inform us what we need to do. But most times, a lot of them may not even know what we could take advantage of. Exactly.
80 pages.
My goodness.
Can I share a story with you?
Yes.
And I don't think my accountant will mind me sharing this. So I have a very good relationship with my accountant. I picked this gentleman. It's actually a couple, a husband and wife couple also who own their own firm, and they have many, many employees. But when I made the decision to change our business structure to an S Corp about almost 10 years ago, about 8 years ago, I was looking around because I was seeing that we were getting killed on terms of self-employment taxes. And again, I lived in a high cost and a high tax state. I lived in New Jersey, and I was like, good Lord, I'm paying property taxes up the wazoo. I'm paying federal taxes. I'm paying all these state taxes to New Jersey, all this stuff. I'm paying all the self-employment taxes. And even this year, and I'm still, kind of being and seeing about it because I looked at my last, and this is not even for 2019. This was my 2018. And we paid about $88,000 in taxes. And I was like, this is crazy. I need to do something different here, So in any event, my accountant, he, as soon as the CARES Act passed, he sent out some notes, to all his clients. And I emailed him and I was like, oh, you know what? Just a couple things here. You should probably fix this because actually the CARES Act says this. And he was like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, and also this. And he was like, oh, you're right. So I was correcting him. He is very good at what he does and is stellar. And he's given me a tremendous amount of great counsel and advice. And I appreciate that. We have quarterly meetings now. And so I believe, and we're a tier of client with them that they offer that. That's one of the services. They call it a periodic business review. And so we don't just wait until tax time rolls around, and we don't wait to the end of the year, once a quarter. And as a matter of fact, Wednesday is my next review with my accounting firm. But in any event, one of the things that was beyond eye-opening to me was that when the CARES Act passed, my accountant put me on an email thread that he was connecting to and speaking with several other accountants, several other experts. I was the only one on the thread that was not an accountant, just a handful of people. And so the amount of confusion that they had, the amount of question, and these are trained experts. They've been doing this 20, 25, 30 years. I mean, these are top people, are really good at what they do. But there was so much ambiguity in the law versus reality and practice. There was not enough clarity in terms of how things like the PPP loan was going to operate, the Paycheck Protection Program for small business owners. And so I was like, okay, I would not even, I applied for a PPP loan, and I was like, they said, here's the 8 things that are included, here's the things that are not. And I was like, wait, what? And I'm really good with numbers. I'm really good with understanding and digesting things. But I was like, this is a mess. I was like, let me go to my accountant. Let me go to ADP. Let me just put it, let me let them handle it and then come back to me and we can talk about it. So, but even the accountants, many of them were baffled because they did not get clear instructions. And a lot of what was written really didn't have any kind of bear any resemblance to like real world stuff. And so you just have to kind of get past that and say, okay, we know it doesn't make sense logically or in the real world. This is not how it works, but just fine. This is what the rules and the law says for the CARES Act. So we're going to go along and dot our I's and cross the T's. Because one thing my accountant knows, I'm aggressive. I take every deduction to which I'm legally entitled. I believe in claiming, all my credits and tax deductions, et cetera. But I'm anal about being on the right side of the law. I document up the wazoo. I got my paper trail. I have everything. So if somebody ever comes and asks me, I'm like, in my whole life, I've only been audited once, and nothing happened. They were like, oh yeah, we have questions. I was like, here you go. They were like, oh, okay. So it was just like, nothing happened, because I'm like, I'm not messing around. You're not gonna hear about me on TMZ talking about, oh, Lynette, something crazy. I can tell you that.
You know what? One of our power players just chimed in the comments and said that her job is to process the PPP loans, and it's a lot of confusion going on right now. So what you're saying is accurate. Now, being that you are a investor from a real estate standpoint, a lot of people are, again, making articles and comments about whether or not this is the time to jump in the game if you're not already in, or should you wait till you see like '08 prices before you jump in the game. What would you say to that?
So I think you really do have to look at your own situation, right? So I had a question posed to me, and essentially a woman asked me, she said I was in the process of, getting her first home. She said I was going to buy this year. And then she proceeded to tell me all the things that she had done in preparation. And then she said, do you still think I should go forward and should I go through with it? My answer to her was yes. And it was because she was clearly ready. She had saved, she had a good down payment and reserves. She had worked on her credit and improved her credit. She was taking a home buying course, so she knew the rights and responsibilities of home ownership. She really prepped herself in a lot of ways that, frankly, a lot of people don't do. So for her, I made it clear to her and I told her, girl, go for it. You're ready. And she actually had a longer term. She wasn't planning to buy right now in the spring. She was planning to buy, a little later this year. But I told her, if all of this stays the same, if your income and your job stability, remains intact, then yeah, I think you'll be just fine. Go ahead and go for it. Okay. So I do know, of course, that obviously sales volume has been off dramatically in recent weeks and over the past month and a half. And so I think finally, for people who are considering it from an investment standpoint, I definitely think it's a great opportunity. I'm looking for a 4-family right now. I understand though, my own level of comfort and risk, and I'm willing to bear some more risk. So like you mentioned, I do have rental properties. Yes. So in addition to my home that we own here in the greater Houston area, we have 5 rental properties. So out of our 5 rental properties, 1 did not pay in the month of April. So the guy was very conscientious. He's married. He has a kid. And he first messaged us. He let our property manager know as well. And he was direct. He reached out to us. He said, oh, I've been furloughed. and we were like, okay, no problem. Then he said, but we'll see how it goes. Then he was just like, no, I've been fired. So I'm not laughing about that, but just, he was just straight up. And we were like, okay, not a problem. Take care of your family. Hope all is well with your kid, with your wife. And, we'll just see how it goes. Just, no pressure. Because honestly, we ain't gonna kick the man out. We're not gonna, and it's no point in us pressuring him or saying anything. And I want him to feel like, okay, great. We said, do you need anything? Any way we can support you? He said, I'm gonna apply for unemployment, but I don't know about this. And I said, oh, okay. I think Earl sent him an article I had written, or just told him like, here's some, if you want to apply for unemployment, this is what you need to know. And that's it. We didn't, and that was it. Now, we had the money to pay. We do have a mortgage on the property, so we had to pay it, and it's fine. But we also plan accordingly, with some reserves, with some knowing that either you're going to have vacancies or you could have potential losses, you could have repairs. So again, even if you're going to get into real estate investing, don't just act like, oh, it's all peaches and roses and sunshine, because no, you could stuff like this. Now, this is definitely, next level in terms of the impact of the economic crisis, but you should always be contingency planning. You should always be having a plan B, because what if your renter ups and moves? As a matter of fact, the another property that we own, a guy that's in there, he's a college graduate, and he is stable. He works for a tech company, and he pays on time, no problems. Well, he recently messaged us and said he got an offer from Microsoft. So we were like, oh, okay. But then he was first he was like, and he messaged my son first, actually, because he's a roommate of the property where my son was living. So long story short, he said, no guarantees yet. I don't know if they really want, he was just kind of giving us a little lead time, I guess. And so, but more recently, he said, yeah, I am going to take this offer, and I'm going to, kind of give you a month's notice, that kind of thing. And he's going to be leaving and going to Seattle, working for Microsoft. So now he's about to pay out the rest of his contract. I can tell you that. So I wish him well,
Right.
but he's not struggling, and he didn't lose his job, and Microsoft is about to pay him handsomely.
Right, exactly.
They will give him that little reload package and whatnot. So yeah, if you're going to break your lease, 6 or 7 months in advance, you go stick to the terms of your 1 year lease.
That's right.
And then you're going to pay. So, that's a whole other story. But, so again, I'm just being honest. I'm just being real, telling everybody that, because now I got to go out and find another renter amid a pandemic, So,
exactly.
And I don't know when I'm going to get a renter in there, so.
What's your advice for the way forward? And I want your perspective on what the future holds for us collectively as a country. I keep picturing there was this Christian song that came out a little while ago.
If you guys have any questions, go ahead and start posting them.
Carrie Job and Elevation Worship, and there's this line where she says, and their children and their children and their children, and then somebody created a meme that said, who's going to pay for all this, these stimulus packages, and they show her singing their children and their children and their children. So I'm wondering, the economic impact that this will have on our kids and our grandkids. And then part B to the question is, on a personal level, what should we be learning from all this and moving forward with our money, business ideas, investment choices in the future?
So, as for me and my house, I can tell you what it's going to be for my kids and their kids and I'm empire building. I'm creating legacies over here. You guys know the Bible says that a wise man or woman plans for their children's children. And so, I'm in that mode where what I'm doing now is not just for today, and it's not just for next year or 2023. I'm thinking ahead to Alexis and her life as an adult, her, next phase of motherhood, her kids coming along, etc. And so ultimately, it's my hope and desire that I'm going to emerge from COVID-19 way stronger than I went into the crisis. And so it's showing me even the gaps that I have. It's showing me the areas that need to be shored up. It's showing me how much more of a cushion you need. It's showing me a whole bunch of elements. And Lord, we didn't bring Earl over here, but he's that one. We're yin and yang. We always have like a kind of an opposite view. And I think God does that for a reason.
Right.
Those little financial opposites sometimes together. But this man has been harping on me forever, talking about being more conservative, saving more. And I'm like, how much more we got to put in? I'm like, we good, But he was right, And now I'm not going to say that there's never a point at which you're like, oh, yeah, I'm good. This is good. But I do think that, when you think about 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine,
yeah.
If you can have like 7 years, I don't know, maybe he'll be comfortable then. If you got not just like a year or two, your bills paid for, okay, good, I'm over here. No, give me 7 years worth. I'm going to say, honey, okay, if I put 7 years worth in this, are you going to be happy?
Are we going to be done after that? Like we can do the rest of this?
I've asked him that on the number of occasions. Just tell me what the number is.
Just right.
Number in there. And then the bar is going to keep moving, So. But I guess as circumstances change and as goals change, because part of what's happened is that we've evolved. And in our evolution, we've made larger, greater, bigger commitments to our kids. And so we've told our kids we'll buy you your first house. We've told our kids we'll put you through college, and you'll be debt free. We've told our kids we'll buy you your first car. So our goals and objectives have expanded, right? And then, of course, for our own financial security, our own, retirement, our own goals, et cetera. So having said all that, I used myself as just an example, but your goals are not my goals. And everybody has their own personal needs, their desires. Not everybody wants to own real estate. Not everybody wants to retire. Not everybody wants to do something for their kids. It's personal in terms of those kind of choices. But at the core, I do think that everybody should be looking at the coronavirus crisis as a reset. They should be thinking about, what can I do better? How can I emerge more secure? Secure in my relationships, secure in my relationship with God, secure in my finances, better in better health, and not just, sitting around, eating popcorn and looking at TV or whatever, So I see this as an opportunity as much as it is a crisis. And so the two go hand in hand, and it's kind of like opposite sides of the same coin. So that's kind of one aspect of it. Then overall, I guess I would say part of the wake up call, part of the reset beyond your mind and your actions and executing on your personal plans and goals, it's really about priorities, right? It's really about a lot of people saying, wow, what really matters? Because all the stuff you see that had to go away, that is sort of, the lifestyle stuff or the things that were things that you did habitually, some of it was just totally out of habit. Some of that spending that was going on, I was going to get my manicure and my pedicure. I was going to get my hair did, You can't go to the hair salon right now. And it's all right, but you can see like, yeah, I could do without that actually, So I think that some of us are going to be making choices and prioritizing things in our lives. And it's definitely the case that work has shifted at every level. I mean, you're not going to see, again, I'm a big fan of real estate, et cetera, but I know the commercial real estate market is going to take a hit. Mm-hmm. It is, because everybody has to have a place to live. So residential, are we going to see prices drop? I think some people are thinking that might happen. I hope they stay stable. I don't want to see prices fall. We know that sales activity has dropped dramatically just because there's no open houses and people aren't out, et cetera. However, everything has gone virtual. Everything is online. You can close and do deals.
Yep. Virtual home. What do they call it? Open houses and everything.
I bought two houses. I bought 2 houses this year that were, right before this crisis emerged, that we did virtually. Mm-hmm. Earl subsequently went out and saw the properties in person. But before that, no, we had our real estate agent. She FaceTimed us. We saw the property like that. We did, a digital mortgage. We did an away closing. The person came here to our house and closed. It was just done. So it can definitely be done, yes. And it is being done. So I don't know. I hope that kind of answers some of the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. The same conversations that we've been having in our home as well too. Opportunity, even in the midst of crisis. How can we be better? How can we grow from this? What will we do different? How can we improve? Like all of those questions we're asking ourselves as well. So this was great.
Can I say one other thing?
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course.
You can say two other things.
So over the weekend, I'll just highlight it. It was over the weekend. So, I moved here to Houston and I have a phenomenal church family here now in a church that we've become part of. It's called the Church Without Walls, Pastor West. And I mean, y'all, they don't play out here in Houston. They go like this. I mean, they hug you up, take care of you. These people have called us multiple times. This is a mega church with thousands and thousands of members. They're sitting on the phone calling everybody. They're checking in. They're streaming. They're doing everything they can to stay connected. And of course, they're reminding us that we are the church. It's not about that building. And they got multiple campuses, multiple buildings. They're like, no, it's not about that. But the message that Pastor West preached this past Sunday was so on point. It was about Moses and getting out of a mess. And basically, he was saying, you know how you have some situations in your life when, everything seems to be going south and it just looks crazy and drama filled. He said, and you're just looking at circumstances beyond your control. And he said, there's no way to describe it except to just say, whew, this is a mess. And we were like, yeah, we know. So he just showed how God brings you through the mess and how on the other side of the mess is always better. And that's God's order for the things that he wills. And he was like, God is in control. Mm-hmm. He's still, Jesus is on the throne. Like there's, we have to have some level of faith to understand and to believe and to know that we're in the mess right now and we don't see and know everything. And that's not our job. Our job is to be obedient, to execute, to act, and to not be, lazy, right? In terms of just sort of saying like, and when I say lazy, I'm speaking specifically to Christians.
Come on.
Because some will, if y'all let me preach for a minute here.
Come on.
some will be like, oh, the Lord will provide. And it's like, no, he has already provided. But you're squandering the resources that he gave you. You're squandering your intellect. You're squandering your time. So don't test him now, okay? He already provided for you. How are you taking care of it? How are you growing it, right? So in any event, he was just preaching on getting to the other side of a mess. And he just took Moses and his story from birth to the end. And it was just an amazing, y'all should go online and go.
Yeah, one of our power players said that she attended that church when she lived there. And now her aunt still attends that church.
Yeah.
So, we got to go look that up.
www.org, the Church Without Walls. Yeah.
Okay.
So in any event, I'm just reminding people, even if you seem like you're in a mess, God got you.
That's right. Amen.
All facts.
One of our power players said, can you give the name of the act that the
$511 you
falls
said you
under?
multiply it times 10.
I need to get with my employer.
Yes. So that one is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Okay. And that one outlines sick leave benefits. And that's the one that's up to $511 per day. And that one also covers family leave benefits if you're like taking care of a child, et cetera. And honestly, even if you're sick, you can put your benefits under, because some people want a longer term benefit, and that family leave benefit, that one can be applied under that as well. The daily amount is less, again, a $200 maximum or 2/3 of your salary. It's all based on your salary. And so, and those are under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act.
Thank you. Now, let everybody know where, because they ready. Like, I need more of Lynette. So let everybody know where you're at on the World Wide Web so they can stay connected.
Sure. So I'm on the interwebs on a couple of spots. Go to my free financial advice site first, 100% free. It's askthemoneycoach.com. You'll see that I have over 1,600 plus articles on there. I have video content on there, and I cover 26 categories of personal finances. So just type in a search query or the topic that you want, and you'll see a whole bunch of content. And right now, it's all COVID related. It's all coronavirus, helping you to get through this crisis. Separately, if you want to get coaching, group coaching, digital coaching, video-based coaching, that's through my platform called moneycoachuniversity.com. And that has both free courses and some paid offerings as well. So again, moneycoachuniversity.com.
And we got links to the 2 articles that Lynette mentioned earlier in the show notes of this episode. Lynette, as we knew you would, you came through and you blazed. You helped us all get a little smarter and a little wiser, understanding all this stimulus packages 1, 2, and 3, and what it means for our current situation and how it should help shape how we move forward in the future. So we want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the show today.
My pleasure. And you guys keep up all the great work that you're doing. You're such an inspiration. And, you know, I know you guys know this, but not only your inspiration as a couple, but as business owners, as a family unit, in our community, in our financial community, among people who are talking about money matters. And then, of course, to the larger African-American community, what you do is so important. So I just want to speak, love and all of God's blessings over both of you guys.
Thank you so much.
That means a ton coming from you.
It does.